You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
There was quite a high chance we weren't going to record today, in the sense that when you messaged to say you're going to do like another episode, kind of, I wouldn't say finish off, but to delve deeper into the Brian Flores lawsuit, I was like, yeah, it's fine. For those who don't know, I am a paid journalist, editor. I spend my days writing about sports. Like, that is literally what I do. And I spent my time off today writing about the Brian Flores situation for a national newspaper. And for those who follow me on Twitter, I was emotional. Like, took me about 6 hours to write 1,000 words. I could do that in an hour. It took me 6 hours to write about 1,000 words. And I still haven't finished it yet, and it was difficult to write because I'm sitting there as a man with many different hats on. I'm a journalist. I'm an NFL fan. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. But first and foremost, I'm a black man, and I'm sitting there writing as a black man about racism in a sport that I've grown to love. And as I'm doing that, I'm seeing people on social media just belittle it like it's nothing. Like, Brian Flores is a angry black man who's upset that he lost his job. So because of that, he's going to take down everything with him. Like, he doesn't have a legitimate case to make. Now, whether you agree with him or not is one thing, but to belittle someone and basically downplay what his experience is something, is quite vindictive, I guess. So yeah, I didn't know whether I could do this. And if at times I get emotional, people think I'm overreacting or anything like that. Like, I genuinely urge you to, like, stop and listen to what's actually being said. Not by myself, not by Charlie, but also by by Brian Flores, by Cameron Wolf, by people who have experienced what Brian Flores or people like Brian Flores have been through.
It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm Charlie Touche. I got my co-host Kadeem Simmons with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Woo! We officially have more scandals in the past 20 years for the Miami Dolphins than playoff appearances. It's legit, bro. And on the back of what you were saying, this episode, we thought, the last episode was gonna be all right. Let's do what we gotta do. Let's hit it in the head. Let's address it. Let's get it all of maybe uncomfortable talk out the way. Maybe it's another episode of uncomfortable talk, but it's all right because we need this. Someone actually hit me up. We'll get into this a little bit later. Someone hit me up. A couple people hit me up, but one in particular hit me up, and we had a pretty not tough conversation, but it was like, I appreciate you hit. It was one of my white friends. You feel me? An NFL fan. He watched football, and he just probably didn't understand, like, why is it going down like this? So we had a talk via text message. I preferred it to be over the phone, but people have lives and we have to do other things and stuff, so we can't really chop it up over the phone. So I would love to chop it up with him over the phone, and we will eventually. All right. But if you listen to this podcast, then I make music. And it's important to note that I love the Dolphins. I love doing the podcast with Kadeem. I love to make music. I love to do a lot of things that I do in my life. I'm living I like my life a lot. But you guys know that I make music, but what you guys don't know is I had 3 record deals in my life. This is a true story. I had 3 record deals. 2 as an artist, 1 as a writer. So I used to ghostwrite. I used to write songs for artists. Straight up. Like Charlie Touche over here writing songs for y'all favorite artists. I'm talking about artists I was gonna mention a couple, but some artists I wrote a couple songs. You feel me? So yeah, man, I still have great relationships with a lot of people in the industry, friends with a lot of people in the industry, music industry, of course. So I know people wonder, like, man, well, how come you ain't making music now? Or where can I find your music? Or what are you doing nowadays? You know what I'm saying? And I remember this quote from DMX. I'm not even a big DMX fan. I'm really not. He's a dope artist though, but I'm not really a DMX fan. And he said this. This wasn't even a rap or a line. He actually just said this. I kind of want to say it was on like Def Poetry Jam. But DMX said, I tried so hard to get in just to find out I don't even fit in. And I thought it was just a dope line. And then I got older, and then I had 3 record deals. And then, the artistry, and I'm learning about myself and my craft, and I make music, and the industry, I'm learning about the industry. And I realized I tried so hard to get in just to find out I don't even fit in. And it just resonated a lot more. Like it just meant more to me. And I appreciated that now. Shout out to DMX. Help me out as an artist. And this is where the Brian Flores thing gets real. Because 2 things can be true at the same time, Kadeem. When Brian Flores got fired, I was surprised. I wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't sad about it either. And we got receipts on this episode, on this podcast. We could go back a couple of times. I said the exact same thing. I wasn't happy, but I won't be sad to see him go. And that is still true today. Let's just be clear. It doesn't switch it up just because we have the same pigmentation. Like, I'm being real with you. Like, I want to win football games and I want to win the Super Bowl. Straight up. Before Sherrod Steve Minnie gets out of high school. You feel me? So we need ships here. So yeah, I still okay with Brian Flores getting fired. I want to be very clear. But 2 things could be true at the same time. He has legs to stand on. What he's talking about is legitimate. You feel me? And I know a lot of people, some who look like us and some who don't look like us. They'll quick to say, "Oh, he's just mad. Now he's kicking the cans on the way out." Like Kadeem said, is he really just kicking the cans on the way out, being mad? Or can 2 things be true at the same time? Because I'm gonna tell you like this. I believe 90% of what was coming out when Brian Flores got fired. When he was like this in the locker room, he was difficult to work with, and he did this, and that decision was his. But I'm just listening. I'm like, yo, I believe 90% of that. There's a lot of stuff coming out, I believe about 90% of it. So now Brian Flores gets a chance to talk, and he's talking about different teams, different interview processes. Stephen Ross offering 100 bands a game to lose, or 100 bands. Be clear, 100 bands every loss. You see what I'm saying? I believe 100% of that. 2 things could be true at the same time. We don't have to pick a side. Multiple things could be true at the same time. So that's where we are, and that's how we got back here on this podcast. And I think some people just want to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? You know what I'm saying? So it's some people don't want race with their breakfast. I get it. You think I want race with my breakfast? You think I want to wake up and be like, oh, I gotta go educate some people today. I gotta go listen to people who don't understand what I'm going through today. You know what? I'm gonna be real with you. Then this wasn't even a part of the plan. But last night it was kind of cold down here in Florida. It was kind of cold, right? And I went for a walk to the mailbox. This is true story. True story. Like, can't even make this up. This is a hoodie. Everybody who listen to the audio version, you can't really see. But if you're on YouTube, this is a hoodie. It's a dolphin hoodie. And I went to go. I don't really need hoodies down here in South Florida. I get my hoodies because I work on the road. You know what I'm saying? I'll be traveling and stuff. Wear the hoodie. All right. I don't really need hoodies in South Florida. It's probably cold for 2 weeks out the year here in South Florida. Yesterday was one of those days. So I walked to the mailbox and I throw on a hoodie. I'm going to the mailbox and I throw the hood up on the hoodie, to be clear. And it's like, this is me. This is just my testimony. This is just me. I have become hypersensitive when I put on a hoodie now. I'm a 38-year-old grown man. I cannot put on a hoodie. I cannot put on a hoodie without thinking what someone else is going to think about me when they see in this hoodie walking to my mailbox. You feel me? Like, this is a real thought in my head. There's a lot of people who could put on hoodies that don't have to think about the way they look when they put this hoodie on, how intimidating they look when they put that hoodie on, what other people are going to think about them when they see them walking at 11:30 at night to the mailbox to put like with a hoodie on. You know what I'm saying? How about it's just cold and I have a hoodie on? You see what I'm saying? So I wasn't going to go there, but there's a lot more other places we could go. I'm gonna get back to Kadeem. We're gonna chop it up about we didn't discuss the Belichick text messages last time, but you wanted to go somewhere, bro?
Yeah, it's a quick question for you. Growing up, you know, your parents, brothers, grandparents, any close family members, did anyone ever say to you that you'll basically have to work twice as hard just to get to the same place that a white person is going to get to? And before you answer that question, there's going to be a lot of conversation on this podcast about black people and white people, because what Brian Flores is talking about in the NFL are black coaches and white coaches. Like, we can't get away from that. So if it makes you uncomfortable, I'm genuinely sorry, but sometimes the conversation has to be had. And like you said, some people don't want, racism with their breakfast. Some people don't want to discuss racism in the NFL. But what Brian Flores has brought to the table means it has to be discussed. And as two black men on, with a platform to discuss it, I think it would be wrong for us to just completely ignore it and for us to just talk about, who the next head coach is going to be. So, yeah, has anyone ever said to you, you're going to have to work twice as hard just to get the same opportunities as someone else?
Yeah, I heard that a lot, actually, growing up.
Yeah, and it's something that I've heard quite a lot as well. And it's something that I want to say 90% of black people who live in, a predominantly white country have been told growing up. And I say that to say this. I'm finding a lot of Dolphins fans are angry with Brian Flores for bringing up a racism civil action lawsuit, isn't it?
Civil action lawsuit.
Yeah, a racism civil action lawsuit, but then mentioning the Dolphins and what they did to him. And everyone's
action.
like,
class
action
lawsuit.
You
You messed me up. You banged me up.
No, that's cool. So everyone's kind of saying, well, why are you doing that for? And it's kind of like, you're more angry with Brian Flores for doing it than you are with the team for basically cheating. So that's the first thing. So when people are like, well, why didn't Brian Flores why didn't he quit when he was offered the money? And I think I said this on yesterday's podcast. If not, I've said it in another podcast and I'm just getting conflated between the two. But I'll say it now in case I haven't said it here. If you're a black head coach for the first time black head coach in the NFL, the chances are you probably know that if this doesn't go well, you're not getting another job. It sounds harsh. People be like, that's not true. Yeah, I think there's stats show that on average a black head coach lasts 2.5 years in the job and a white head coach lasts 3.5 years. And if anyone turns around and says, well, what about Mike Tomlin? There's the problem in the sense that there's one. You've got one black head coach who's been there for ages. and being successful. But yeah, so Brian Flores, and again, I don't know if this is the case. I am assuming, I'm projecting, I might be totally wrong. But put yourself in Brian Flores' shoes. Your owner has allegedly said to you, for every loss the team takes, I'm gonna give you 100 grand. And he's like, that's wrong. I'm going to quit. If Brian Flores quits there, then and there, yeah, and then leaks, or not even leaks, tells the media and the NFL what happens, does Brian Flores get another job in the NFL? No, because all of a sudden he's gone against the NFL. He's gone against the Dolphins. So he doesn't say anything. He keeps working. And again, like you said earlier, two things can be true. Brian Flores, the head coach, did make mistakes in the 3 years he was with the Dolphins. 100%. Me and you have sat here and said, why is he doing X, Y, and Z? He was not the perfect head coach. No one pretending he is. But to then try and use that against what he's saying now, to me, again, so that you're not listening to what he's saying. You're trying to basically shoot down his arguments. Like I said, Brian Flores making mistakes as a head coach doesn't mean what he went through is legit, real, and that the Dolphins have done wrong and other teams have done wrong. But I'm getting off topic. So Brian Flores doesn't say anything the first time. He doesn't say anything when Stephen Ross allegedly tries to set him up with a predominant quarterback. I'm not naming names because the names weren't made in that lawsuit. And people again are going, well, why didn't he leave then? He basically waited 3 years to become, to be a man of integrity and stuff like that. Listen, if you feel you're in a job where you have to basically toe the line, because if not, you're never going to get another job again, then you're going to toe the line. I guarantee there are people who listen to this podcast that hate their boss, hate them with a passion. Why don't you leave? Because you can't just up and leave your job every time you don't like your boss. I guarantee there are people who have listened to what Brian Flores has said and listened to the podcast, and their boss has asked them to do something shady. I'm not going to say illegal, something shady. And they didn't say a single word. They may not have done it, but they didn't, grass them up to X, Y, and Z. They didn't say a single word. But you expect Brian Flores to do something that you didn't do yourself. No, I'm sorry. Like, this is stupid. And like I said before I pass it back to you, people aren't angry. No, that's a lie. People are angry with what the Dolphins did because, people saying Ross has to go. But I'm seeing more anger aimed toward Brian Flores for basically whistleblowing about what happened as opposed to what actually happened. And then trying to say, like I said, oh, he didn't leave during X, Y, Z. Oh, if he did, he's only because he didn't get this job, he's like taking the whole thing down. That's why I was emotional, because I'm having to reason with idiots.
You know what's funny, Kadeem? Actually, it's not funny at all. But you said there's more people mad about. Say that last part again.
More people
about him. You're right. There's more people mad at Brian Flores for saying what actually happened, or telling, whistleblowing about what actually happened instead of being mad about what actually happened. Sounds like America, bro. Unfortunately, that it really does sound like America. And for the people who might be uncomfortable, I think this is a perfect time though. Like real talk. I'm thinking you're in the privacy of your headphones, privacy of your car, listening to the podcast, privacy of your home. You know what I'm saying? You can listen to the podcast. You might be able to learn about some things right now. This might be the perfect time for you to say, you know what? Let me hear what these boys got to say. I rock with Go Time Dolphins. They pretty cool dudes. Let me see what they have to say on this topic instead of, tucking your tail and, I don't want to listen to nobody talk about anything if it doesn't have to do with sports. Like, bro, this might be the perfect time for you to be like, you know what? I'm gonna take a lesson. Let's see what these boys got to say.
And sorry, very, very, very quickly, to the people in the last episode on YouTube who commented, and there was a healthy discussion. I'm happy to have a healthy discussion. I'm pretty sure there were people in the comments who didn't agree with what was being said, but the way they portrayed their argument wasn't ignorant, if that makes sense. And if that, to me, this is a discussion which I don't think I need to have with people. But if you come at it from a dignified and reasonable, way, if that makes sense, then I'll have the discussion with you, because maybe perhaps you haven't seen it from that perspective yet. I'm talking about the people who are just being plain ignorant, and the thing is, they know they're being ignorant. They're trying to make sarcastic jokes about this, like I said on the last episode. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're
Brian
good, bro.
Flores has basically taken a bullet to the head about his NFL career. The guy's probably never going to work in the NFL again, and people want to make jokes about that. This is why I'm emotional. I'm emotional speaking about it right now, because. So, yeah, I'm emotional. So,
It's cool.
Charlie
It's cool, bro.
Yeah. Charlie found this out about a week ago, or just under a week ago. I'm 32. Like I said, I'm an editor. I'm a journalist. At 24, I became the first black sports editor for a daily national newspaper in the UK. And I'll say that again. At 24, I became the first black sports editor of a daily national newspaper in the UK. And that was 2014. As far as I know, so I've now left that job. And as far as I know, no one has replaced me in terms of that title. There's not another black sports editor of a daily national newspaper. And I know a black sports editor of a monthly newspaper, which was weekly. But in terms of a paper that comes out every single day, Monday to Sunday, there wasn't, and still isn't, I guess, because I've now left the job, a black sports editor. So when I get emotional about seeing black people in jobs which there aren't many of them, it's because I've lived that firsthand. I've been in press. I've been in press boxes where I'm the only black person, and me and all these white people and white women are watching football, soccer, and there's a bunch of black people on the pitch, a bunch of them, but I'm the only black person, among my peers. It's if you don't pay too much attention to it, you can get through the day. You can get through life and stuff like that. So yeah, when I see people making light of Brian Flores as a black man and the experiences that he's been through as an NFL head coach and going for interviews, yeah, it's going to get me emotional, because I've been there, I've done that. And I feel like I'm in a position right now where I am where I am because of what I've achieved and not because of the color of my skin. But that's not the same for everyone else. And I'm sure we'll get to the whole Giants situation, the Broncos situation, the Bill Belichick situation. But I can understand where he's coming from, because I've been in a situation. I've been sat across people, and in the back of my mind and the front of my mind, I'm just going, am I only here because you guys want to look like you're being diverse? So you can say to your shareholders, oh yeah, we interviewed a black guy last week. Didn't get the job, but we interviewed him. So I've experienced that firsthand. And again, people will be like, well, you don't know that. Who are you to tell me what I do and don't know? You haven't lived that. Imagine going to a job and you feel like you're only there because of the color of your skin. It messes with you. It genuinely messes with you.
Hey, I like it, bro. I know some people don't like it. No, real talk. This has to happen. You don't understand. And I hope all the listeners stay to the end of the episode, because it's going to be healthy conversation. It's going to be, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, so stay to the end. Look, we're going to chop it up some more. But same way Kadeem just said that, on the last episode, I heard it back. I played it back. And I was like, I hope I don't have to explain how there's racism in the NFL. I said that on the podcast. I'm like, you know what? Reality is, I might have to explain it. You know what I'm saying? And whether it's fair or not, or whether someone doesn't believe it or not, that's okay. We're going to keep having this conversation. Once upon a time, I can't even say once upon a time. It's still relevant today. Black people or white people thought that black people weren't smart enough to be quarterbacks or play safety in the NFL because there was a cerebral position. You're not smart enough to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're not going to have you in this important role on our defense or on our offense when you're not smart enough to do it. Can't even say that really changed because they I don't want to put words into anybody's mouths, but do you think they came around because they realized we're smart enough, or just because we're better athletes or athletic, or because of our athletic abilities? You see what I'm saying? There's a we cracked jokes before about how come there's no white corners in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? That you barely see white corners. You know what I'm saying? And to have played football before, I understand, like, not saying all jokes, I understand like the feat that has to happen to play corner. You know what I'm saying? And y'all heard me on this podcast go to bat for Cooper Kupp. Y'all heard me go to bat for Cooper Kupp. Bro, if Cooper Kupp was black, he would be MVP of the league right now. He's white and he plays receiver. Had that been Odell Beckham went off like Cooper Kupp, or Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins, this wouldn't be a conversation. But it's weird how that happens, right? Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. I felt like he should have been Heisman Trophy winner that year. He didn't get it. It's odd when it comes to sports, right? But when people say, "Oh, how do you know it's racism? How do you know it's race? How do you know it's race involved?" Let's think about this for a second. Everybody that came up through Andy Reid, every single one, every offense coordinator that has ever came up from Andy Reid, the Andy Reid coaching tree, Pat Shurmur, Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy, all of them became head coaches. Who's next in line, Kadeem?
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy can't get a job. All right, it's cool. We don't have to say, "Oh, how do you know that's racism?" Cool. That's not the hill I'm trying to die on, but cool. Now, hopefully, it's a collective. Oh, I see what you guys are talking about. You see what I'm saying? First black head coach, Fitz Pollard. I want to say it was like, and I probably shouldn't say like. I'm gonna get the facts. You know what I'm saying? But from Fitz Pollard to be a coach around the first, like, I'm gonna get the facts right. We're not even gonna go into maybe this. But how about this? There were 6 black head coaches in the NFL over the first 80 years. 6 black head coaches in the NFL over the first 80 years. There were 4 black coaches in the 16 years before the Rooney Rule. Before the Rooney Rule. I was chopping it up with a friend. This is a friend of a friend. Like, this is my friend, actually, but they're in the football and stuff, in the sports and stuff. And they said, "Hey, you think the Rooney Rule works?" And I'm not going to say who it was. Shout out to you, bro. We'll chop it up. Do you think the Rooney Rule works? I'm like, nah, it don't work. But it's a necessity. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, I don't understand why. Like he said, if I wouldn't, it was a white friend, by the way, I wouldn't want an interview knowing I wouldn't get the job. And in my head, I'm like, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, why would you want a rule like that? I said, well, the rule needs to be better. One, you know what I'm saying? It needs to be more things in place so this is not the case. But here's my thing. Like, it's either you get the interview or you don't get the interview at all. There's no other options. There's no, we get the sham interview and then we get the real interview. That's not it. You get the sham interview or you don't get an interview at all. So yeah, you get some coaches slip through the cracks, because I want to be very clear. All white people are not racist. How about that? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real. Like, all white people are not racist. All right. So it's just some things that needed to be said. But back to Flores real quick. Go ahead, Kadeem.
And so on what you just said, yeah, and I don't know, this is some radio show host for Fox, I think, in the States, and he basically tweeted that, Flores had nothing to complain about because, he got a Dolphin job in 2019, and he said that, Brian Flores interviewed so well in 2018 that helped him get interviews in 2019, and he then got the job. But when he said that, he said the Rooney Rule got him the interviews, and everyone was like, "There you go, that's the problem." It wasn't the fact that Brian Flores was an amazing defensive coordinator or was doing amazing things in New England and got interviews. The Rooney Rule got him the interviews, which then in turn allowed everyone to go, "Oh, actually, wow, this is a good guy." Now, that is an example of the Rooney Rule working, where Brian Flores, due to this a very, very flawed system, got in front of people. People are like, "Oh, wow, we need to speak to him more often." But without that rule, he wouldn't have got a job, which basically means you could do the best job, or you could do an amazing job in the NFL, but people are just going to overlook you. So, yes, the Rooney Rule is a necessity because it allows black coaches to get in front of these, employers. But the fact that you need that rule in the first place means that the system needs to be changed. That something needs to give.
Shout out to Art Rooney, by the way. For those who don't know who Mr. Rooney is, the Rooney family owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you want to connect some dots, Pittsburgh had Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. I think they're like a franchise that only had like 4 head coaches ever. It's the wildest stat. And one of them are black. You see what I'm saying? And the owner of the team, the family of the team, is the one who came up with the Rooney Rule itself. You see what I'm saying? So let's get back to current events. Flores was on CBS today. He was actually on Get Up today, ESPN Get Up. And I thought he was going to tell us where the bodies were buried. I thought so, bro. I thought we was going to get you know what I'm saying? We still got the shovels. No recordings, though. But he did hit us with a gem of a line that said Stephen Ross told him verbatim, take a flight, go on vacation. Take a flight, go on vacation. I'll have $100K for you for every loss. And ultimately, Flores was like, "Nah, bro, that's not what time it is." Flores did not say that he denied it or declined it right there, but Flores said, "It's not in me. I can't do it." I'll be real with you, I can't do it either, Kadeem. We were talking about, kind of jokingly last episode, like, 100 bands, that's it. Like 100 bands, that's 1.6 million to lose. Bro, listen, it's 53 people on the roster. Like, you got kids playing football, bro. These boys are young 20s, bro. And they depend on their coaches to put them in the right positions to succeed. The average lifespan or the average career in the NFL is 3 to 4 years, and it might be less than that nowadays. So you got people who's on that 2019 football team that will never dress ever again, play football ever again. Like, bro, you don't play with people's lives like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you lose, you lose. You know what I'm saying? But you can't go out like that.
Do you remember Kendrick Norton?
Kendrick Norton? No, I don't.
Kendrick Norton, I believe we drafted him 2019, I think it was. 2018, drafted by the Carolina Panthers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We picked him up in 2019, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Has a car crash, loses an arm.
I remember it. I remember it.
So when you said about, people might never dress again, all that kind of stuff, you're basically spitting in the face of players who, who are trying to make a living, and you're saying to them, we want you to basically play badly. Not even play badly. We want the head coach to put them in positions to fail, knowing that, okay, the head coach might be getting paid for this, but the players aren't. So on your tape, you're doing stupid stuff. The coach, you know what? We'll use the Steelers game as the prime example. But before halftime,
28, the 4th and 20 something.
Yeah, it's like 3rd and 28.
I thought it was 3rd and 28. You're right.
And everyone was like, "Why would you call a cover zero blitz, all that kind of stuff. And at the time, even I was like, that's stupid. But hindsight is a wonderful thing, because do you remember remember that second season when the roster was better and the Dolphins started that cover zero blitz and no one could stop it?
Yeah.
That's what he tried. That's what he tried against the Steelers, and it failed. So everyone's there going, well, actually, here's proof of Brian Flores tanking. No, this is Brian Flores trying something which went on to be successful, but no one's talking about that. To try and get people who, at any moment, their career could be over, be it on the field or off the field, to get them to ask them or to put them in a position to fail. Nah.
So
And
I was about to say we're gonna pull up the Bill Belichick tweet soon, and also we're gonna talk about Hugh Jackson actually took money. Hugh Jackson took money to tank, and Kenny Britt came out on Twitter like, "F you, Hugh Jackson." Basically, listen, it's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond but across the world. I'm Charlie Touche. Got Kadeem Simmons with me, talking Dolphins football. It's always for the fans and by the fans. How about this? Kadeem, right? How about that same person we were talking about? Oh, why would you want to interview like that, right? They also said, why would Flores do this? He's making it very divisive. You know what I'm saying? And he feels like, and this person was like, I feel like it's going to be a civil war soon in the country. And I told dude, listen, no, this is a true story. I told dude, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. As a black man, I prefer it be divisive when we're talking about stuff like this, because you're forced to talk about it. You see what I'm saying? Once it becomes such a hot button topic, it gets on people's nerves. Like, oh, I don't want this. It's becoming a problem for me. Well, that's the thing. It's been a problem for us, for black people, for minorities. It's been our problem. But now once someone decides to talk about it, it becomes everyone's problem. You see what I'm saying? Now the hope is, now that it's everyone's problem, everyone will try to rectify the situation. That is the hope. You see what I'm saying? So no, we don't want for it to be this uncomfortable and divisive and everything like that. But I know as an adult, as a human being, as a man, a human, something we weren't even considered once upon a time in this country. I know that this is where we needed to be, to have the conversation, for people to be uncomfortable, to want change. Like, you know what? We need to change it. We need to fix it so we don't have to do this anymore. True story. We'll go down memory lane real quick. I'm from Miami, Florida. Came up across the street from the stadium, kind of hood area. Matter of fact, Rick Ross neighborhood. You feel me? Y'all know who Rick Ross is. It was not the best area I grew up in. I moved to Miramar, probably 4 minutes away, but it was better than where I was staying in Carroll City. True story. So I eventually go to school in a school where it was less than 50 black people, right? And for some people, I told the story to someone in Washington State, and they was like, yo, there was like 10 black people at my school. I'm like, yeah, that cool. That's in like the middle of nowhere, Washington State, but I'm in like the city of Miami. That's not supposed to happen, right? So I'm at this high school. True story. I'm at this high school. It's predominantly all white people. And I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about life in this high school. This is where I learned life. I ended up getting a whole bunch of white friends, and I just like, oh, I was exposed to something new, like the other side of the tracks. Like, this is interesting. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea, right? And some of my white friends, they're like, bro, I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. That's what life is. So I'm at this school, Kadeem, and I'm in class. Shout out to my friend in this class. Her name was Kristen. She sat right next to me, the desk right next to me. Shout out to Kristen. and white chick. She was like, we're in class, and there was another, you know, when you're in school, you're not supposed to be talking, you're not supposed to be doing that, you're supposed to be paying attention to the teacher. And we were talking about, like, there's a picture in the books about like slavery and stuff. And there was a chick in front of Kristen, to the left of her, but in front of her, and she was kind of mumbling under her breath. Kind of mumbled like, oh, no. And no one really thought nothing of it. And then the mumbles continued as the teacher kept talking, as the teacher kept teaching. And we're in class, everyone just paying attention, just listening to the teacher talk. And everyone's like they keep hearing the chick mumbling, right? She's in the front of the class. I want to reiterate this, you know, this is a white chick. Cool. And the teacher says, is there a problem? And then the girl says, none of this stuff is real, right? And there's like a gasp. And about 90% of the class looks at the only black person in the class, which is me. You know what I'm saying? They look at me, and I'm like, what y'all looking at me? I don't say it, but I'm like, no, real talk. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So the teacher kind of, everybody cool out. And it's funny because I'm a teenager at the time, but as an adult, I understood now. So the teacher says, let her say what she has to say. You feel me? Like, he gives her the floor. Like, why do you think this is not real? And I want to be clear about what the this is. We were talking about slavery. We have history books in front of us, and they're like skeletons of graveyards and of slaves. And the teacher says, why do you think it's not real? Like, there's pictures, there's history, you know what I'm saying? And she says, they're all fake. My dad told me none of this was real. No one really tripping, really. Like, they had that initial gasp. And I'm like, dang, that's wild. But the reality is, racism is taught. All right. So since we went down like memory lane and we had this history lesson, so the teacher says, he starts talking, and in the back of the room, like the corner, the back of the room, you hear someone say, well, what about the Holocaust? And she says, that's not real either. The whole classroom erupted. Bro, everybody went crazy. People had to be held back. The teacher had to call, basically, oh, hey, yo, stop. Yo, you know what I'm saying? For someone, and I want to be very clear where I'm going with this. For someone to believe or not believe in something, that's on them. I can't make someone believe something. All right. But that wasn't my thing in the moment. That was a microcosm of the America we live in. Because no one really flipped out until it was one of their issues. You see what I'm saying? When it was about slavery, it was like, oh, that's crazy. She said that. And then when it was about the Holocaust, it was like everybody went crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that's unfortunate that this is where we are at. And it happens like that in real life every single day. It's just a reality that we live in. And we're going to get back to football, but I just had to share that story. And people don't understand, like, oh, well, why do you think like this? And how can people say stuff like that? And like, yo, do you understand? Like this, I'm just one person that I have thousands of stories. You know what I'm saying? That was just one story that I shared on a football podcast that had nothing to do with football. But hopefully someone could start to understand some things. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. You know what I'm saying? And that's it, bro. You got some slides for us, Kadeem, since we're in class now?
Yeah. I guess before I pick up the Belichick text, obviously probably best to kind of the backstory. So Brian Flores gets fired, is what it is. And it's funny actually. Someone on Twitter was talking about actually was on color commentary, who I met at the Chris Adams Defense Tailgate show. And he said, someone basically tweeted about, you know, there's evidence about what Flores is saying in terms of he was fired basically because he didn't do what was said. And Color says, exactly. What does everyone think the Flores arguments have been about for the last 4 weeks? His job performance? Ross explicitly said he wasn't fired for performance reasons. Well, what then? Now, obviously, Ross was like, communication issues, all that kind of stuff. We're all working together. It's like, well, yeah, because Ross said do X, Y, and Z, and Flores was like, no, but that's a whole other conversation. So anyway, so Ross is fired. Flores is fired, and do you remember all the media was saying he's not gonna be out of a job for long. He's one of the best head coaches in this cycle, all that kind of stuff. And then the job start kind of, Flores interviewing with the Bears, interviewing with all these kind of teams, and he's interviewing with the Giants. And it seems that one of the early, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, the kind of the favorites for that job, the two favorites were Brian Dable and Brian Flores. Now, Flores has said today, while doing these interviews, he respects Brian Dable. Like, I respect him as well. Brian Dable getting the job has nothing to do with, I want to say, racism. And I say that because it's not like Brian Dable with me. His only NFL experience is on Madden. And, that's how he got the job. Brian Dable, over the last few years of Josh Allen, has done an amazing job. It makes sense why the Giants would want him. So you've got a situation where the Giants have kind of settled upon Brian Dable and Brian Flores, according to the media. The Brian Dable interview happened to the Giants. It goes, I guess it goes well. And after that, it's kind of like the media starts saying, actually, yeah, the Brian Dable basically got a choice of jobs between the Dolphins and the Giants. It seems like the Giants are going to hire him unless the Dolphins do it first. And again, I remember Dolphins fans going, well, now we've got to hire Brian Dable because he's not going to be there. Why have you waited a week to give him a second interview? So you get all that. Brian Flores is at home. He gets a text on his phone. Looks at his phone. Bill Belichick. Okay, cool. I don't know how out of the ordinary that is, getting a text from Bill Belichick. But, he gets a text. I'm now going to read the Bill Belichick text. And I guess we'll go from there. So, we've got Bill Belichick in the black. Is that on a faded background?
Faded?
As in, that's cool. It might be my end. So we've got Bill Belichick in the black and white, I guess, and Brian Flores in the blue. And what I did find funny, actually, was that someone asked Brian Flores if he got permission from Bill Belichick to use his text. And Flores was like, no. So, yeah. So Belichick says, sounds like you have landed. Congrats. Flores replies, did you hear something I didn't hear? Sorry. To which Belichick replies, Giants, ? All that kind of stuff. Belichick says, I interview on Thursday. I think I have a shot at it. And then Bill says, got it. I heard from Buffalo and the Giants that you are their guy. Hope it works out for you if you want it to. Flores says, that's definitely what I want. I hope you're right, coach. Thank you. And then it's like something triggers in Brian Flores' head. So bearing in mind, he hadn't even interviewed for this job yet. And yet he's saying that he's got the job. That's bizarre. So Flores says, Coach, are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Dable? Just making sure. To which Belichick replies, sorry, what's up? I double-checked. I misread the text. I think they're naming Dable. I'm sorry about that, BB. Flores says, thanks, Bill. So before we really delve into the seriousness of this conversation and this situation, people are making jokes. Now, some of these jokes are quite funny. I'm not going to lie. Saying that this is payback for those 2 Super Bowls. This is Bill Belichick, once again throwing it back at the Giants. Bill Belichick, who every single thing Bill Belichick does, there's a plan and there's a backup plan and a backup plan to the backup plan. Like, Bill
Calculated.
Belichick did not accidentally text Brian Flores. Like, he meant to do this, knowing full well it's going to get leaked. I don't know. I'm not accusing Bill Belichick of anything because I'm not trying to get sued or anything like that. But essentially what's happened is the Giants have spoken to Brian Dable and not offered him the job, but told people, yeah, we're hiring Brian Dable. And Flores hadn't even been interviewed yet. And Flores is basically saying, or he said, you know, he was filled with a wide range of emotions, but one of them being, did they just put my name down to fulfill the Rooney Rule? Did I ever stand a legitimate chance of getting this job if they haven't listened to what I've had to say yet, and yet they've already offered the job to someone else, or they're going to offer the job to someone else? What if I am so good, like, it's a complete waste of time? So the Giants came out and said that that's not true, that everyone had a fair shot, that Brian Flores was in it until the 11th hour, but they ultimately decided to go with Brian Dable. We are never going to know. Never, ever. But this goes back to the Rooney Rule is a very, very, very flawed system where stuff like this can happen.
Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson, the former coach for the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people thought he got a couple, like, oh, he's overstaying his welcome. Like, everybody thought he got like a little extra time on the back end. Like, man, he's hanging around kind of long. Don't you think it's time to fire this dude? Turns out we might know why now. Hugh Jackson has come out today. What's up, Kadeem?
Before you get to the Hugh Jackson situation, did you hear what Marvin Lewis said today?
I'm behind, bro. I seen him talking, but I didn't hear what he said. What did he say?
Marvin Lewis basically said he went through the exact same thing when going for, I think it's a Panthers job. Now again, I want to get the exact details. So he was on first take ESPN, and Marvin Lewis said, I did interview with the Carolina Panthers before John Fox got the job, and I can recall that we had lost to the Steelers in the second round of the playoffs, and I remember sitting at home on Monday, and I think it was Chris Mortensen or someone else, they reported that Foxy would be named the head coach of the Panthers on Friday. I then went to work Tuesday. Brian Billick came in, said, I just got off the phone with Ozzie, that's Ozzie Newsome, and the Panthers want you to come down and interview for the job. I said, this is Marvin Lewis saying, Coach, I just heard last night on TV that they're going to name Foxy the coach on Friday. So he goes back, he talks to Ozzie, he talks to their people, and I end up going down to Charlotte and meeting with the Richardson family, and they said that wasn't true and so forth. They named John the head coach on Friday. So
this is not the first time this happened.
Of course not.
Oh, dude. No, I'm just saying it's not the first time it's happened.
Yeah, and you know, I'm pretty sure you're going to hear a plethora of black head coaches or black coaches who have said, "Yeah, I went for the exact same thing where my interview was on the Thursday." And you know what? Even right now, we said that on yesterday's episode that the Vikings were probably going to hire John Harbaugh, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jim Harbaugh.
So yeah. And then I'm pretty sure, like, on Wednesday they interviewed a black coach, and everyone was like, "Dude, we already know who's getting the job. Why have you interviewed this person if you've basically already decided to give someone else the job?" And again, that's what Brian Flores is talking about. Like, I didn't mean to cut you off for the Hugh Jackson thing, but
no, you're good.
Lewis is relevant to this. One of my friends who I play Madden with messaged me, white guy, and said, you know, I wanted to have a genuine conversation about this. And one of his suggestions to fix the Rooney Rule was to be like, okay, you know, interview the black candidates first or stuff like that. It's not going to make a difference,
right? Because it's a change, but it's not as a significant change. I get it.
And again, it's difficult because, you know, Charlie, if you own a company and you have a job opening, the 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a rough idea of the person you want to hire. You might interview other people just to see if there's a better candidate, but you also kind of already know who you're going to hire. And that's the same with with NFL positions. They might interview 10 people, and because of the Rooney Rule, 2 of those people have to be black basically. So if you have a situation where, and I'm not going to use the Giants, I'm not going to get myself into a lawsuit. I'm the owner of a football team, yeah, and I really want to hire Sherrod Steve. He's the guy who I want to hire.
Yeah,
I've basically decided, but I have to interview other people basically. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to interview LB, and I'm going to interview you, Charlie. I'm going to interview LB, Charlie, and I'm also going to pad it out with Sherrod Steve, because he's the person I want to hire, Chris Adams, Mike the Mike, and 4 other white guys. So in the end, I've got six white guys and two black guys. I fulfill the Rooney Rule. Everyone got an interview and a fair chance, but Sherrod Steve's going to get the job anyway.
yeah.
It doesn't matter if I interview you and LB first and second or 7th and 8th. Sherrod Steve's getting the job. I've interviewed everyone else to basically waste their time.
So Hugh Jackson took money. Marvin Lewis has just said that, Hugh Jackson was offered money to tank. Marvin Lewis just said the same thing Brian Flores said, and we're still here. There is a rule in place now, Kadeem, in the NFL, where if you get hired, if the Miami Dolphins, all right, have a sitting executive or a head coach or a coach on the staff that gets hired by another team, your team, in that case, the Dolphins, will be awarded a 3rd-round pick. So they are trying to put things in place to where minority coaches can get a chance to become head coaches in the league. All right. It is very important to understand why we are here. And I say it all the time with the anti-tours and the pro tours. Why? Why are we here? How did we get here? You know what I'm saying? Everybody, oh, well, what do you need a rule for? Right? And it's not fair for you to get a 3rd-round pick just because that team hired a minority. Yo, you think I really want to have the conversation of, oh, we get a 3rd-round pick because a black coach got hired? That's not cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, and in some way, someone could say, oh, that's an advantage. You think we want that? You know what I'm saying? You think as a black person that I would want something that makes me look like I was helped out by someone else, and it's not because of my abilities and who I am as an individual? You see what I'm saying? No, we don't want that. But obviously, there needs to be something put in place. But how did we get here? Why are we here? Right? Listen. Progress does not come from a place of comfort. It's the realest thing. That's the realest line. Progress does not come from a place of comfort. When you go to the gym, you work out, you put your reps in, you get sore, and you get progress from that. You see what I'm saying? That's progress. Like, but you weren't comfortable. You weren't in the place of comfort. You didn't get gains laying in your bed, sitting on the couch. You didn't get gains. You know what I'm saying? You had to go out. You had to put the work in. You had to work out. You had to do the reps. And you got your progress. So when people say they don't want to have this conversation, it's uncomfortable and it's so divisive. Shout out to my dog. Oh, I feel like a civil war is coming. If you feel uncomfortable and you feel like it's divisive and you feel like everyone's talking about it, I ain't gonna lie, that means progress is coming. You know what I'm saying? And it's Black History Month. You would have thought Go Time Dolphins with 2 black co-hosts would have brought up Black History Month a long time ago. Hey, Black History Month coming up. Nah, bro, we Dolphin fans, bro. We don't have no agenda. You know what I'm saying? But since we here, Black History Month. Do you think that Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks got progress out of a place of comfort? No, we didn't make progress by saying we needed change. We had to actually lose our lives along the way. You know what I'm saying? We actually had to get hosed down. We actually had to have white friends marching with us to make change. So it's as much as it's on black people, yo, white people can help just as much. Straight up. You feel me? So that's important. So, like, this is a fact. This is the truth, bro. My mom protests. True story. Progress don't come from a place of comfort, bro. Like, y'all gonna have to hear this. My mom protests. Coming up, when she was growing up, she had a protest. Her mom, my grandmother, couldn't protest. She had an illness. Her mom, my great grandmother, was a slave. That's it. We don't have to go further than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not some history lesson of 400 years ago. This is like right down the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is right. How about this? You know what? Kadeem didn't know we was going here, but we going here. And I appreciate everyone who still stayed around 1 hour into the episode. And we're not gonna go too long. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna chill, we're gonna vibe. But
plus there's breaking news as well.
Let's get to the breaking news.
So Jim Harbaugh is going back to Michigan. He ain't taking the Vikings job. According to Adam Schefter, Harbaugh called Michigan to inform the school that despite interviewing with the Vikings today, he will be returned to school for the 2022 season. After all that.
No. You don't see the big picture. I'm telling you, I believe he was probably supposed to come to Miami. You see what I'm saying? He was probably supposed to come to Miami. He wanted to stop off to another team first, so Ross could just hire him on. And like, yeah, man, we didn't hire him from Michigan. We hired him from Minnesota. But then the stuff hit the fan yesterday, and this is where we are. That's what I think.
I said, listen, there were sources saying that he was telling people he's going to Miami and he's going to get named on Friday. But again, at this point, there will be a Miami Dolphins 30 for 30 because this is starting to get really, really stupid now. I'm sure there'll be, like who was meant to get a job and stuff like that. But sorry, you were saying.
No, I'm gonna just get uncomfortable for y'all boys one more time. And this is I honestly believe this is gonna help somebody. Like, true story. What I'm about to say is history. American history, by the way, Kadeem. I prefer people call me black, not African American. Kadeem, you're not African American, right?
No.
Exactly. So it's like, yo, just call me black, bro. That's it. You don't have to call me African American and all this other good stuff. And I know some white people might be uncomfortable with, man, I don't know what to say. And I was, just say we black. That's cool. But I'm gonna give a history lesson real quick. And the hope in this lesson, I want to be for real. The hope in this lesson, and again, because me and Kadeem have an obligation, unlike other Miami Dolphin podcasts, we have an obligation to hit this in the head. And if you roll with us this long, we appreciate you. And if you choose not to ride with us after this, we still appreciate you. But for those who want to know why it's so divisive and why there's an issue every 6 months in America with news and race every 3 weeks, right? This is why. I am huge on the why. How did we get here? How did we get here? How did we get here? You know, a 15-year-old would be like, yo, why can't just the best coach get the job? I don't know if that 15-year-old knows the history of where we came from and why just the best coach can't get the job, right? And even my friend who hit me up today and said, oh, I feel like it's divisive, a civil war's coming. He's a little bit older and he might not understand why, but we about to get here. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but I got y'all boys. When someone says systemic racism, they say, oh, well, what is systemic racism? What does that even mean? In order to know what systemic racism is, you got to look at the history of America. All right. 1619 was the year the first slaves arrived in America. Slavery was not abolished until 1865. We getting there. We're gonna work through it. When slavery was abolished, the Jim Crow laws were put in place. Jim Crow laws ran from 1865 to like 1968. So for 350 years, Black people were disenfranchised in the United States of America. For those who don't know what the Jim Crow laws were, that's when segregation was. And I know you remember, whites only, blacks only restroom, black only restaurants, black only water fountain, stuff like that. Jim Crow laws is a system, systematic slavery, systematic racism. Couldn't vote, couldn't get a real job, didn't get opportunities, didn't have real education. And if you tried to go outside of, try to get a better education in a white school, you obviously knew what time it was. You're either going to get arrested, fined, killed. Even white people that helped Black people in those days got killed too. Systematic racism. First Black person in NFL didn't come until 1946. All right. 46 isn't significant, really, but 47 was Jackie Robinson, first Black baseball player, because at the time, baseball was America's game, not football. So for 350 years, from 1619, I'm sorry, I'm going to be clear, 1619 to 1968, to when the Jim Crow laws ended, that was only 54 years ago. That's it. 54 years ago. My mom like 67. True story. That's it. Everybody on this listening to this podcast knows somebody older than 54 years old. So I'm going to be real with you. When those laws ended, let's be real. Do you think all of a sudden it was okay to not be racist? Do you think all of a sudden, because we had our freedom and we had rights, civil rights, that all the white people who used to be racist was like, oh, okay, turns out they're actually cool people. It's okay not to be racist no more. Probably not, right? Cool. But who do you think the judges were back then? It wasn't Black people. Who do you think the government was of the United States? It wasn't Black people. Who do you think the cops were back then? It wasn't Black people. You see what I'm saying? So instead of going to 54 years later, let's go to today. Like 54 years later today, let's go to like 20 years after 54. You know what I'm saying? That's the 80s. That's the early 90s. Up at 68. So 20 years after 68, that's 88. You think that was enough time for a Black person to own a football team? You know what I'm saying? You think that was enough time for Black people to make a significant difference in the government? You know what I'm saying? Like to become cops without being segregated in the police precinct. Like you still have Black sides of the locker room, white sides of the locker room. You see what I'm saying? So all of that, the reason why I'm saying all of that is because the owners of these football teams are like 80 years old, 74 years old. All white people are not racist. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is they came up in a different time than what we came up in. And if you're younger than 35, they came up in a different time than what you came up in. So the change is not going to come from an 80-year-old white person. If you're a white person listening to this podcast, the change is going to come from you. It's not going to come from the NFL owners. It's not going to come from a 60-year-old white person. It could. They would help. They can help. They do help. A lot of them do. But the real change is going to come when a younger white person says, yo, I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of it. You feel me? So when you hear your Black friends saying, yeah, I got this story for you. I got that story for you. I've been in handcuffs over 50 times. That's my story. I've been in handcuffs over 50 times. This is a true story. Charlie Touche has been in handcuffs over 50 times. I've been arrested once. That's it. That is the wildest thing. I don't get in trouble. You feel me? But somehow I end up in handcuffs. It's the wildest thing. You feel me? It is what it is. You know, everybody has a story. But for everyone to say, oh, well, I don't understand where this racism come from. That's where it come from, bro. 350 years of a people being disenfranchised. That's where it comes from. So when we talk about football and we talk about the first black quarterback, the first black head coach, how come head coaches are black? How come there's a league of 70% black people and only one black head coach in the league? You gotta ask yourself that. You see what I'm saying? But I'm open to have this conversation with anybody who wants to have it. Anybody, like for sure. Like y'all want to hit me up on the inbox. I'm at Charlie Touche everywhere, but I'm at Charlie_Touche on Twitter. Y'all ever want to chop it up, talk about anything, football, race in football, I'm all for it. Like for real. We're gonna get into bonus time, man. There's no other way to like go on to another segment. But it is what it is. We didn't make this bed, but we got to sleep in it. It came from our peoples. And this is the history of the United States. It is what it is. So for those who don't understand, you can change it straight up. Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive, test negative. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's showtime. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
Another episode about a tweet of the day. But I do have a tweet I want to talk about. And it goes back to the whole people are more angry with Brian Flores for what he said instead of the actual So Big O.
People are more upset with what the problem. People are more upset with Brian Flores exposing a problem instead of the problem he exposed.
And part of the reason for that is, and again, I've seen people say this, and I have no issues with Big O. I don't listen to his show. It is what it is. You know what? No. I'm in a mood today where I don't care, and I'm going to bring the tweet up as well.
That's my dog. Hey, Kadeem, no, we take L's together over here. Go Time Dolphins. Go ahead, bro.
It's because to me, it's one of the things, but no, I need to call it out because, like, two rights don't make a wrong. And when it comes to this, like, where is he going with this? So, Big O has tweeted, So Brian Flores didn't want to tank, but he worked for the guy stealing signals, interfering with team radios, and freaking videotaping the opponent. Okay. And it's like, what did Brian Flores being once a New England Patriot had to do with Brian Flores calling out what's going on in Miami? And again, it goes back to, did you expect Brian Flores, when he was making his way up, you know, trying to get to a place where he could go for head coaching, positions, did you expect him to call out what was going on in New England and then never get a job in the NFL? Ever. And if you're holding Brian Flores up to this really, really, really high standard, what about every single other New England Patriot player and, coach and staff member who knew exactly what was going on? Are you ever going to ask, Josh McDaniel what his role with it? Josh McDaniel, why didn't you ever call it out? Like, this to me, this is part of the problem. All of a sudden, Brian Flores' entire character is being assassinated. He didn't call this out. He waited 3 years to call this out. Yo, big man, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to turn this into a Brian Flores thing? What? And again, like, that's what the NFL lawyers are going to do. They're going to assassinate his character, make it so that he's not a credible witness and that this whole thing can go away. And I'm in no way saying that Big O is a racist person. But what I'm saying is, why does Bill Belichick cheating and getting caught for cheating have anything to do with Brian Flores? Like, Bill Belichick got punished, and the Patriots got punished for that stuff. Yes, that Brian Flores happened to work there. What if Brian Flores legit didn't know about it until everyone else did? Like, why is this tweet out there? Just why? I'm not even going to go through the comments, but you know, if I'm a black person about to go on Big O's show and they do go on there, I'm calling you out on this, and we're going to have a very frank and honest conversation on your show, and I'm going to make you uncomfortable. I'm not going to go on a Big O show because I haven't got to that level yet. But if I ever do, this conversation is going to happen. And like I said, he's probably never going to see this, going to hear it. But if someone clips it and he wants to have a discussion with me, I will have this discussion, be it on Go Time Dolphins, the Big O show, or in private. Because to me, I'm not going to swear on this. I can't wait to edit out. This is an idiot move. I'm sorry, but like that I'm trying to find the best. No, screw it. This is a dickhead move. Like, what are you doing? I don't care. This is a dickhead move. Like I said, I don't have time for certain people anymore. If you're going to show up like this, I'm calling you a dickhead. End of.
In translation, what my co-host is saying is, Big O, why aren't you more mad that this happens in the NFL, but you're more mad that Brian Flores exposed it? Hey, Big O, I'll listen to your show if you do want to come on and chop it up with us, or you want to have Kadeem on to chop it up with him and just talk. You know what I'm saying? You're more than welcome. But so we got two teams now that are in the crosshairs. And if you ask me, Kadeem, the commissioner might be in the crosshairs as well. Roger Goodell might be out of a job soon. The owner of the Browns might not have a team soon. The owner of the Dolphins might not have a team soon. Like, it's legitimately, this could be the beginning of the end for a lot of people. And a lot of people might not like this. Oh, well, look at everything he's doing. Why couldn't it? We need change. That's why. Change don't come from a place of comfort. Progress doesn't come from a place of comfort. So what do you suspect will happen with everything that's coming out right now? And for those of you who wanted Deshaun Watson to come to Miami, boy, that train left the station a long time ago. That's not going to happen now. You can't have Deshaun Watson in Miami now. There's no way they're going to compound this with Deshaun Watson hiring. That's not going to happen.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up Watson, because that's another thing. Oh, he's a man of integrity, but he wanted Deshaun Watson. I swear to God, yeah. Like have you seen or heard anyone, or I say anyone, have you seen or heard Brian Flores outwardly come out and say that he wanted Deshaun Watson?
No.
Cool. So, and something we said on the show, people don't like sources, yeah, until it backs up their argument. Now, I don't know if Brian Flores wanted Deshaun Watson, but he never said he did, and the only reason people think he did was because of sources. But these are the same sources you don't want to trust for everything else. Now, again, I'm not saying you have to believe every single source on those sources, but I'm saying, you know, the character assassination of Brian Flores is never going to go away. You're going to hear the most random Brian Flores stories to try and make him sound like, you know, he's a man with no integrity. He's a man who cheats. He's a man who, you know, was part of the Patriots organization, and was, you know, part of that cheating, and then went to Miami and found a heart, but then wanted to have a go at Kenny Stills. And again, his treatment of Kenny Stills wasn't right. Don't get it twisted. That wasn't right. but he can still be angry about what the Dolphins try to make him do. Like, why can't the two things be the same? Yes, he could have treated Kenny Stills badly, but he can also go, actually, do you know what? Stephen Ross, what you're asking me to do is wrong. And again, he never accused the Dolphins of being racist. Like he never did it. He said, "Don't ask me to lose intentionally, and don't try and get me to to basically tamper with the tampering rules." That's what he said. I'm hot. Like I'm animated.
Hey, my dog Kadeem say he hot, man. Y'all got my dog hot, man. I don't like my dog being 38, man. Yeah, all right, Kadeem?
To be fair, you said you wanted this Kadeem on the show. You wanted, the animated Kadeem. That's what you said you wanted. Charlie was like, "Oh, where's this Kadeem on the show? Where's the Kadeem in the voice notes? Dude, he's here." And
I like it. We here now. Hey, I like it. I do like it. Look, man. Hit me up. Hit us up. Matter of fact, I'm going to say it again. Two things could be true at the same time. I was not happy Flores got fired. I was not sad Flores got fired. I'm happy the Dolphins moved on from him. Like, cool. Let's move on. I get it. I believe 90% of the stuff that came out about Flores, and I believe 100% of the stuff that came out that Flores exposed. Straight up. Two things could be true at the same time. It's go time Dolphins, man. Y'all ever want to chop it up with us? Hit us in the comments, man. Hit us in the DM for real. Like we'll respond. We'll chop it up with you. Kadeem is more active than I am on social media, but I'll try to get at you straight up.